All right, so before I do this message, y'all, I'm talking to the students, remember that you liked me before, and you'll forgive me. All right, I'm going to talk about something at first I kind of didn't want to. I knew I needed to. I'm talking about tech, phones, and following Jesus, being a Christ follower. And so, and the reason I don't like it is because when I get up to preach on a Sunday morning, I don't give TED Talks. Neither does the pastor, right? We're not up here to give you a motivational speech. We go in prayer every week, and we say, Lord, what do you want for the people of this church? And then we go to the scripture, and we say, what is truth? And this is what I want to teach, and I am this morning. But this is what it comes from, because who cares what my opinion is, okay? Now, sometimes we need an opinion of an expert in something, right? You go to a doctor for an opinion, and you may get an opinion from somebody, and that can be important. But at the end of the day, it's an opinion. This is truth. Okay, this is what we want to really learn and understand. So when I'm thinking about that and preparing this message, because I know it's what God wanted me to talk about, I'm like, this doesn't talk about phones. Right? Like nowhere in here is it talking about your iPad. Okay, that's not in here at all. In fact, you don't have to go back very far before they didn't exist. Okay, I mean, 20 years ago, this was my phone. Okay, anybody remember these things? I mean, they didn't have a case; they were a case. Like you can throw this thing, punt it, it doesn't break, nothing. You couldn't do anything on it but call and play Snake. And you could text, but they were like 15 cents a message back then, and nobody did it. You couldn't call people until after 4 because they get mad at you for using their minutes, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. So it's not 4 yet. Why are you calling me? I was like, anyways. And so things have changed, right, in just a little time, much less when we look back here. But here's the thing. The principles and things in this word apply even to a world full of this. And so I want to kind of focus on a particular area this morning and help us to learn how to be true Christ followers in a world with phones and tech and the world that we live in, because it's what we have. So 1 Peter 5:8 is where we're going to start, right in the Bible. Be self-controlled and alert. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Resist him, standing firm in the faith. Did you know you have an enemy? Okay, now you do, all right? So we have an enemy who does not want you to see and experience the life that God has for you. He does not want you to have faith in God and follow him. And this tells us, Peter compares him to a lion looking to devour. This is a pretty good image. You can imagine a lion. You've probably watched the Discovery Channel or whatever, and you've seen where this lion is hunting and looking for the opportunity, looking for what he can kill, what he can devour. And so the enemy is looking in your life to see if he can devour, to see if he can steal your family, steal away your faith. He can devour in your life. And so we don't want him to do that. Now, if you are a parent with kids in your home currently, can you raise your hand? I want to see how many we have, okay? Kids in their home. Awesome. I got some news for you. Maybe it's not news. The enemy's coming for your kids. He wants to attack and devour your kids, and one of the ways he's going to do it is through things like this. And it starts out so innocent and good. Would you please watch some Bluey and leave me alone while I do the dishes, right? Like okay, and here's an educational app, and it's good, and that's fine, and I do that all the time. And so it's like, here, leave me alone for a minute, okay? And it's harmless and it's good. But then over time, what it can turn into is a young person sitting in their room in the middle of the night, worrying about that message that they sent, worrying about how this situation's going, and anxiety and stress is coming in, or it's that one that's looking, going, okay, I'm not going to look at that site again. I'm not going to go there again. Okay, and they go there again. And there's this struggle, and the enemy's coming in, and he's attacking your kids, and we're going to learn how to do something about it this morning. But he's not just going for your kids, okay? If you are a student, okay, the world is running an experiment on your life right now. Let's see if this messes you up. Oh, yeah, shouldn't have done that. And I want you to know the enemy's coming for you, but you don't have to let him win. Okay, so I'm going to give you some tools this morning. Young adults, there's a bunch over here and some spread out. You're like 18 to 30-year-old, that kind of range. What a fun time of life. Like all your joints still work without pain. Like it's a great, when you bend over, you don't go, what can I get while I'm down here? Okay, it's like, it's a great time of life. And also though, you're starting out on so much. You're starting your careers, you're finishing college, you're gonna find a spouse. It's like the foundation's the beginning of everything. And if the enemy can, what he will do is he will get you distracted and messed up and heading down wrong paths that the rest of your life will be affected. And one of the ways we're gonna discover he will do this is through devices and the world through that. But not just young people. How about the 30s, 40s, 50s? Okay, the ones raising kids, raising families. If he can, he's going to destroy your relationship with your kids, with your spouse, with your family. He's going to bring sin and pain into your life. And the 60s and beyond, the ones with the joint thing, okay? You know what I'm talking about? Here's the thing. The devil doesn't leave you alone because you retire. In fact, he does not want your retirement years to be good. He doesn't want them to be fruitful. He wants to steal them from you. And if he can do that by just getting you to waste away your days on a screen, he will. If he can do other things. And also, we're going to talk to you a little bit about, as grandparents, how you can be helpful towards kids as well. The easy part of this message for me, I think, is that most people agree that there's at least some problems with this, with technology. Most people are like, yeah, there's something kind of wrong. And it's complicated, though, because on one hand, these are amazing, and we can't hardly remember how we did life without them. I mean, I do my banking on here. I do my investing on here. I set the thermostat on my house in here. Okay, I can open my garage with this. It's a calculator. You remember in school when you had to learn multiplication tables? If you're like me, you're like, why do we need to learn these? And your teacher probably said, you're not always going to have a calculator. Boy, was she wrong, okay? It's with me everywhere I go. All that was for nothing, okay? And so it's a photo album. If you want to see a picture of me as a baby, you got to go in my mom's closet somewhere, get like a photo album out, like, look, okay? I got my whole kid's life right here, every single thing. And if they ever bring somebody home to date that I don't like, I'm going to be like, I got the blackmail. Let me show you some potty training videos right here, okay? I got everything. It's just instantly there. It does so much, and there's so much good that we tend to just try to ignore the harm that's being done. And I think we can have the good without the bad, okay? And so I want us to realize, though, that we have an enemy, and he is like a lion, and he wants to devour. And if you don't resist and you don't stand firm, he will devour. So Peter called him a lion. Jesus called him a thief. He said, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. And so he's coming to do these things. And he will use whatever tools possible. And I want us to focus in on this tool so that he can't use it anymore to steal and hurt us and devour in our life. So I want to just talk about some things the enemy will devour using this. And the first one's going to probably be pretty obvious and to all of us, and that he will devour your time. If you can take your time, he's taking your life, okay? Because you only have so much. You can't get it back. We know this about our time. You can make more money. You can't make more time. And when it's wasted, it's gone. And he will take your time and take your life. So I did a lot of research this week. I don't usually do this kind of research, reading articles and all this, but American adults spend an average of 6 to 7 hours a day on a screen outside of, oh, come on, teen, 6, 7, sorry, didn't even know. Y'all don't know what 6, 7 is? You don't live in my world. Okay, 6 or 7 hours a week. No, stop, I can't even focus anymore. On a screen outside of work. Now, let me show you the teenager side of this. American teens spend an average of 8 to 9 hours a day on a screen outside of school. Now, most people are going to look at this and go, no, it's not even close for me. And I'll just throw this out here, and the stuff I've read is that when you ask people how much they use and they report it, they always report dramatically lower than the actual uses when they tracked the person. And you may not be 6 hours. You may be 4 hours. I don't know what it is for you, okay? But most of us, it's way more than we think. But I just want to think about these guys okay, if they're 8 or 9 hours. So let's just think 8 hours, because that would be easier mathematically. We're supposed to sleep 8 hours a night, okay? So that leaves 16 hours of awake time in a day. 8 is half of that. So half of young people's life, if things are not changed, is going to be spent looking at a screen, sleeping and looking at a screen. Which means, like, if you think about that in the course of a year, that's 6 months of their year, they would do nothing but sleep and look at a screen. That is the enemy stealing a life. If someone was to come, I'm going to take 6 months out of your life. You're like, no, you're not. Okay, but he's taking it just a little at a time. But it's not just that. It's not just kids. It's adults. Even if you are only 4 hours of your awake time, that's a quarter of your day spent looking at reels, looking at YouTube, whatever, okay? It's a quarter. And so what I'm wanting us to see is he's stealing our time. And I don't have a Bible verse that says that is a sin, okay? You're like, yes, okay. But I want us to think about a couple things. It tells us in 1 Corinthians 6:12 that we are not to be mastered by anything. Everything's permissible. This is permissible. You can be on this. This is okay. But we can't be mastered by it. And at some point, it's a master. When we can't go a moment without it, when every free time is just looking, it became a master. It's an addiction, and we're not to have those in our life. God is supposed to be first in our lives. Matthew 6:33, seek first his kingdom. But think about how many of us do our day. Maybe this isn't you, but many of us. The alarm goes off. What's the first thing we look at? Our phone. What's going on? What is the weather? What's it doing? Look at the phone. And then we go in throughout our day, every single free moment. Okay, I'm at a stoplight. Oop. Some people between stoplights. Don't me get started on those people. Okay, and then it's all throughout the day. I'm in a waiting room. I have a pause. I'm sitting down for a moment. I'm walking down the hallway. What am I doing? Every free moment, I'm pulling out this and I'm scrolling, scroll, look. And I'm constantly, and then the last thing, before bed, what do? One more quick look, make sure everything's good, and then we put it away. This is first. We're supposed to seek him first. And so much of the time, this has become, I don't want to call it a god, an idol. It's something that is taking the wrong place in our life. In Psalms 90, verse 12, it says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. So to number your days is to realize, is to look at your life and go, my time is limited. I only have so much. To number them, okay? And when we do that and we recognize our time is limited, then we gain a heart of wisdom. That gives us wisdom to look at our life and consider the limited time we have. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to use it up. I don't want it to be taken from me. And if we will begin to take a moment to do what we've just done and look at our time and say, where is it going? I only have so much. We will gain wisdom in how we respond to this kinds of stuff in our life. It will help us to use wisdom when it comes to that. And I am particularly thinking about numbering my days when I'm considering this. I have littles at home right now. My time with them, as they are, is very limited. It's only going to be so long that my 9-year-old is going to want me to come play games with her in her room. Or my 7-year-old son's going to want me to get on the couch and read him a book. That's probably very limited, okay, where he's going to want to do that, okay? And I don't want this to steal from me that, because my time with them is limited. But our whole life is limited, and we cannot let the enemy devour our lives through these devices. So he's going to take our time, and the next couple are really going to feed out of that. He wants to devour relationships. He wants to separate husbands and wives. He wants to make sure parents don't have influence in relationship with their kids. He wants to divide in the body of Christ where we don't have real relationships with each other because we're so distracted and focused on the wrong things. They've actually made a term now, psychologists, called technoference. It's the interference of technology in interpersonal relationships. Technoference, okay? It's that these have become a division. Now, that's really great. They can connect us. You can talk to grandma who's in another state and you can see her and y'all can smile. And some of you do that. You have conversations with people that you can't really see. And what a great tool, right? It's a good thing. And then at the same time, you can be at the dinner table or on the couch with your family, feet away yet miles apart, not having conversation, not building relationship. Let me tell you a key about relationships. Relationships are built on time and communication. They take time and communication. When I teach teenagers about not having bad friends, been a while. We need to talk about that soon. But not having the wrong kinds of friends. Let's say, when you recognize someone is a bad influence in your life, you don't go up to them and say, you're a bad influence, you're not my friend anymore, okay? That's not the way I like to do it. What we do, though, is you spend less time and less communication with them. If you cut that, the friendship will fade, okay? And so you cut your time, now, what is happening in many marriages, in many families, is time and communication is being taken every day, little by little. What would have been just a normal conversation, how's your day, what's going on, was two people looking at their phone. See, it used to, when you would go pick up your kids from school when they were little, and you pick them up from school, and elementary, and how was your day? Fine. What'd you learn? Nothing, and they never learn anything. I don't know why that is. And you had these conversations. Then you inserted the device, and they came in and they were silent and you're silent, and the two just ride home together. And there was now most of those conversations, completely meaningless, right? But they were conversations, and they were building relationship. And every now and then an important conversation happens, and those don't happen when they've been replaced. And so it's hurting our family relationships. We film these Father's Day videos. Every year, we like to interview the kids to try and get them to say embarrassing things about you. And so we interviewed them, and I asked this one 8-year-old boy, I was like, so what is something you'd like to say really nice to your dad? And he thought for a second, and he goes, Dad, would you like to put down your phone and play with me? And I looked at my wife because she was filming. I was like, we're not putting that one on the video. Okay, but and that is not the only time something like that happens frequently. And here's what we can't let be, parents, okay? That our relationship with our kids is, hey, yeah, go do that. Yeah, that's fine. And this is what they learn to see of you, is the back of a phone. And we don't have time to be with them because, now, I'm not saying we have to spend every moment with them, okay? They drive you crazy. I mean, they never want to leave you alone, all right? It's like, go do something. Leave me alone for a minute, okay? But there comes a point where our relationships are being broken by things like this. And we can't let the devil devour that. I want to tell you about a story here at the church. So we had a couple boys who promoted into the youth. One was a little older, but they were not connecting with the youth. They would come in on Wednesday night, and they weren't making friends. And I know what happens after a few weeks of that. Eventually, they'll start begging their parents not to come to church because nobody wants to come and be around people that they don't have friends. And that their family is real involved. And so they would come in, sit on the front row or second row, and they'd just scroll their phones the whole time until church started. They put them away. People come and talk to them. No one wants to talk to somebody playing a game or playing on their phone. So they didn't make friends. So I went to their parents and said, hey, told them what's happening. I recommend you send them to youth with no phones for a few weeks. Now, I'm glad I didn't have to do that side of the conversation, right? That's for them, how they can be. But sure enough, came to youth the next week without the phones. They're really great parents. And then I saw they started making friends. And after a few weeks, they were able to bring their phones and have friends. But they needed help. They needed training. They needed to see it was destroying their relationships in the body of Christ. And it does it to some of us. You could talk to people, but we don't. We scroll on our phone. We got other things. And so we can't let it take our relationships. And I just want to touch on this too, because this is what God has been working in me on, is it will damage our relationship with God. And that God has a still small voice that speaks to us and that we need. And so we need to, I want to be able to hear from God. I mean, that's part of my job. I got to hear from God for the church and how to speak, right? But I want to tell you what, you need to hear from God. You need God to speak to you. And it's hard to meditate on God's word when we're always distracting ourselves every free moment. How can God speak a word to me if I'm always going through the next thing? Okay, and this is something that I've been really bothered by in my own life is God able to speak to me, or am I always distracted? Do I have a moment when he's allowed to speak to me? And so I don't want to be so distracted that I can never think on the word. I can never pray to him. In fact, many people say, I don't really have time to pray. I don't have time to read my Bible, but we have time to spend 7 hours a day on our phone, okay? And let's be real, okay? This is never going to give me the dopamine that this is going to give, right? Get your brain wired or whatever. But we need to recognize that it's stealing this from us and not let it do it anymore. I'm going to go real quick on this, on peace, joy, health. Okay, there are tons of studies coming out now, especially on young people, that teens who spend more than 4 hours a day have adverse health outcomes. infrequent physical activity, irregular sleep routines, not being rested, higher reports of depression and anxiety. By 17, 78% of girls are unhappy with their bodies, and they're seeing that over and over that this too much time is stealing away people's peace and joy. And it's not just kids, adults. We compare to other people. We spend money we shouldn't have spent because they had it, because this influencer has it, because of this or whatever. And it's causing these problems, okay? And then finally, holiness, integrity are... Okay, so the enemy wants to steal and kill and destroy, and one way he's going to do that is by bringing sin into our lives, because sin kills. Sin brings death, and he is using this to bring sin into many of our lives on a daily basis. And I'm just going to read you a couple of things, okay? The average age of first exposure to pornography is 12. Some newer studies say 11, so it's 11 or 12. First exposure. 73% of teens have consumed pornography. 78% of American men watch pornography. 44% of women watch pornography. And that is America as a whole. The percentages for the church are about 3% better. So like 75% of men, okay? And so this is an issue that is huge, and it's fed by this. Okay, this is causing part of the problem. This is really what drove me. I knew I was going to preach this message months ago because I had another conversation that I've had many, many times. It was at summer camp. A young man comes to me and says, "PJ, I need to talk to you about a struggle I'm having." And I know what he's going to say. I wait till he tell me because it's always the same thing. One time it was pot, but every other time it's been the same thing. They say, "PJ," they tell me all kinds of stuff, y'all. He said, I've been trying to quit looking at pornography, and I just can't do it. It's just a constant struggle, and I don't know how to quit. And I counseled him and prayed with him and gave him advice. But I leave those conversations so frustrated because let me just give you something to picture in your life, okay? Especially, we grew up with this or not even this, okay? This was a different world when I was a kid. But imagine if you're a young man and someone puts on your nightstand beside your bed a stack of pornography and says, "Now don't look at it. We're going to leave it here. I know you're going to be curious and wanting to know, but don't ever look at it." And so every night you just have to sit there and think, don't look. Okay, this is what we've done. Is we've given them that and said, "Now don't look at it." In fact, way, way worse than what you could put in a magazine, okay? And so something has to be done. We can't be okay with the devil bringing this harm and pain and stuff in our life. And I want to go back to that verse we started with, but emphasize not the enemy, but what we do. It says, be self-controlled and alert. And I'm trying to make us alert, aware this morning and go, okay, there's a problem. There's a lion, and we've let him into the house. Okay, and so we're going to deal with this. We're going to do something, and we're going to resist him and stand firm. We can resist. We can stand firm in our faith and say, hey, you're not going to win, okay? I'm not going to win in my own life. You're not going to win in my kids' life. And so we're going to make sure that we stand firm and we get victory over this. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to talk to parents, and I'm going to talk to everybody because we all deal with it. But parents, I think, have a special role because the enemy's coming for the young ones as much as they can, okay? And so I'm going to talk about parenting and tech for just a moment and how that we can parent in this world. And I'm just going to say to grandparents on this issue, okay? Just real quick on this, if you're a grandparent. Don't let your house be the place where there's no rules. Because the parents will have a setup, boundaries, and then they come to you, and here's your tablet, go in there and do whatever you want. They're going to struggle at your house, okay? So you need to talk with mom and dad about the boundaries they have and enforce those in your house as well, okay? And so parenting and tech. So when we talk about parenting, I want you to think parenting comes down to this two things a lot, that we protect them and then we train them. We protect them and we train them. I was reading about some of this anxiety and stuff that students go through, and someone wrote, we tend to overprotect our kids in the physical world and underprotect them in the digital world. I couldn't get it out. And we do maybe a little overprotect nowadays, okay? I mean, it's really different than it was when I was young. And my kids, when we get in the car, they have like a harness practically, When I was a kid, we had a Suburban. We took the back seat out. and we just crawled around in the back while we drove. We didn't even have a seat, much less a seat belt, you know? And so things have changed. When I was a kid, I remember riding my bike down a hill as fast as I could. No helmet, no knee pads. I put my kids out on like rollerblades and they've got bubble wrap, you know, it's like, not quite, but it's almost there. You know, we protect. Now, is protecting them physically good? Yes, but we are so careful there, and then we're like, here you go, and we don't protect here, okay? And so we need to protect them, and we need to train them. We need to protect them. One more thing on that, to the dads, okay? If there was a predator outside your home lurking around, peeping through the windows, what are you going to do? Go to jail maybe? I don't know. Like, I got something ready for that, okay? We're not going to let them in our house with our family, okay? We're going to defend and protect. Okay, we're protecting that way. We lock the doors. Okay, you're going to need to protect here too. And moms as well, but listen, we protect. So, and we train. Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart. He will not turn from it. That's Proverbs 22:6. Training is an important thing that we as parents do. We protect them and train them because eventually they're not going to be with us where we can protect them anymore. We have to train them so that they can go on. So you do this in so many things. Many of you remember the time in life when you had these in every outlet in your house. It's a plug cover, okay? And you do this because 2-year-olds are stupid, and they'll just stick something in a hole because it's there, and you have to protect them. But here's the deal. If you have a 14-year-old with a fork going, what's this do, okay? You haven't done a good job training, okay? At some point, you don't need these anymore because you've trained them, right? And they know how to handle that. And here's the deal, okay? We're going to start with protecting, but it's not just that. You've got to train them, okay? You can't wait till they're 18 and go, okay, now you get a phone. Now go wreck your, young adult life. Okay, so we're training them through on how to do that. So I'm going to give you some practical thoughts on protecting and training, and they're not from the Bible. Okay, this is what I believe wisdom, but you need to pray and seek God. And this is from 17 years of youth ministry, hundreds of students, kids of my own, and many conversations with other parents, okay? So I just want to give you some wisdom and things that you might can do. First of all, how to protect. Number one is delay the device. Elementary kids don't need a personal phone. They don't need a personal device. They're not ready for it. There's too much harm and things that are there for them. And delay it. Now, when to delay it to? I don't have a number. But you need to seriously pray and consider when you introduce a personal device, a tablet, a phone, and these things to them. Now, maybe you have family devices they use. That's what we have. We have a family tablet. They're allowed with certain things. But you before they have the device that lives with them, okay, you need to delay that. And for my family, it's going to be middle school sometime, okay? We don't have, my kids are, oldest is 9, so we're not there yet. But think about it, pray about it before you act on that. And then secondly is use parental controls. When you have a device and they do get a device, it needs to be starting very restricted. You don't give a 12-year-old an unrestricted device. They will have access to things that you can't imagine. Okay, I was listening to someone talking this the other day about they were very upset because their kid was at school with third grade watching beheading videos. Now, it's third grade boys. They don't know him, okay? But this is the stuff that's on there. You can't give them unlimited access, and you got to be careful who their friends are too. But so it starts with, I know you're going to hate this next couple parts. Just get over it, all right? Most of you are older, and anyways, some of them are like, I've been begging for a phone, and now he's telling them it's a good idea. All right. Anyway, so using the controls, I'm going to go ahead and put this up here so you can take a moment to get it. This is a website. I encourage you here. I'm talking about not using our phones too much. Use this QR code. It shows you how to lock down all the devices in your home, from Amazon Fire Sticks to tablets to PlayStations, Xboxes, all those things, okay, need to be guarded. Your Wi-Fi router is one of your biggest tools, by the way. It's worth paying for one that has parental controls on them. I do for my house, and I recommend it for you. So this is going to talk all about those things. I've spent quite a bit of time looking at this. I encourage you as a parent to, if you lose it and you forget about it, and you can always get it from me later. I'll have it where you can get it, okay? And so what we do, though, is we protect by blocking these things out. So a kid's first phone should not be able to do very much. And you can lock out the ability to download apps and things like that, okay? This is very important. And then you add them over time and train. In fact, let's get into the training now. Because you're not just protecting, but wouldn't it be great if they could just never have one? They're like, no, that's horrible. They need to be trained. So yes, you're going to start adding things as they age and as they grow. So how are we going to do that? Here's some thoughts. Have ongoing conversations, not one-time lectures. It's not enough to say, be good, don't do dumb stuff. Did that work for you as a kid? Like, you did dumb stuff too, right? And we know you need conversations, and we need to continue have this be a part of your life. You're asking them how it's going. You're seeing and you're investigating and seeing what's going on. It's a constant conversation. Have access to all passwords and devices, especially at first. Now, I know by the time they're 18, okay, somewhere along the way, this is going to begin to change. But at first, it's not theirs. You bought it anyways, right? You paid for it, and so you have access. You know their Instagram passwords. You know their screen pin. Okay, you have access so that you can have conversations, not to be nosy and get in and other little things, but to help protect them, right? Add apps based on trust and maturity, right? So a 12-year-old doesn't need Instagram. You might let a 17-year-old Instagram, right? Somewhere it's going to change, and you're going to have to look at their maturity. You're going to look at their trust level. Where are they in their life right now? And you make these decisions based on your kids. And I even knew someone that gave Instagram to a kid for their birthday. When they turned, it's like, here's a gift. Okay, it didn't cost them anything, but they got to download it, all right? And so you are helping making these decisions with your kids and setting time limits and boundaries for when and where devices are allowed. Are they allowed in rooms? Are they allowed, at this place or that? Are they allowed at the dinner table? Maybe not in the car. We're going to say we put them away in the car so that we can talk. Or many families have a charging location. So they have a place in the living room where everyone charges their phone so they don't go in bedrooms at night. By the way, these are kind of things that would help some of us. If our phone wasn't literally next to us all the time, we put it away over here to charge. That would help us as well. But thinking about limits, boundaries, where, when, these are things that you should do and think about as a family, and it's going to be different based on the kid and the age and their maturity and all those kinds of things, okay? I know this is a lot, okay? It's like, and y'all will like me again in a couple weeks. I'll get over it. All right. Finally, model healthy tech habits. Okay, we can't just say, you get off your phone and then we sit on our phone all day. We have to model it ourselves. You can't be on that all night. I can. I'm an adult. It's okay if I have bad sleep habits and I'm moody all day because I don't sleep. Okay. We need to have the same. We need to model it for our kids, and all of us need to. So I just briefly, really quickly, because I spent longer than I meant to, talk about all of us and what God has kind of been doing in my life, and I think He want to do in yours. It started for me about 9 years ago, a little over. I was having a quiet time praying, reading Ephesians, and I read this verse. Pay careful attention then to how you walk, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time because the days are evil. So I'm reading through, and I read that verse, and I just pause. Sometimes when you're reading scripture, something stands out to you. Just pause and go, Lord, is there something you want to say to me? And I remember what He spoke to me 9 years ago, which is a big deal. You can ask my wife. She'll tell me what dinner is, and I forget in 5 minutes. Okay, what do we have? But I remember this conversation with the Lord from 9 years ago. Is I read this, and I was like, Lord, what are you speaking to me? And I just knew in that moment He wanted me to delete all of the games from my phone. This was back when Clash of Clans was starting and big, and I spent a lot of time on that, and I had all these games, and I played and all this. And I knew, and I did. I deleted all the games on my phone. And what the Lord was doing was trying to tell me to protect my time and to make the most of my life and not let it be stolen. In fact, my daughter was about to be born. And I think the Lord was saying, hey, I want you to be present with your daughter, not looking at Clash of Clans. Now, does that mean everybody needs to delete Clash of Clans? No, that was what God spoke to me, okay? And since that day, I've revisited this moment over and over and over again and said, am I still doing this right? So a question for you might be, are you making the most of your time? Not like crazy, weird, like, oh, I'm not allowed to have fun. I'm not allowed to ever watch a show. I can't do it. Okay. No, Lord, wants us to be blessed and have fun, and I watch a show. I play video games, okay? I don't play them on my phone. The Lord said no, but I have a big monitor I play them on, all right? But you know what? I like playing video games, but there's a time when that would become a problem where it's stealing from my life, and I got to make sure it doesn't. Is it okay? I mean, I like YouTube. I like YouTube Shorts and things like that. Is there a point where it's a problem? Yes. And so I'm making sure that this is where it should be in my life. Trying to make sure. Okay. One more thing about this. This is from Jesus. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So he's talking about not looking lustfully, important command. Then he gives us this. He says, if your right eye causes you to sin, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. Boy, is that dramatic, all right? Now, aren't you glad that it's hyperbole, all right? We don't have an eye gouging section of the foyer or the prayer area, all right? Those of you that need the eye gouged out, come over here. That's not what we do, but he's making a very vivid point to us, okay? And I want to make it like this. If this is stealing from you, your family, your relationships, if this is bringing recurring sin into your life, okay, what's a step below gouging an eye? That's for you to answer. Maybe you got to get one of these. I don't know. I don't even know if you can buy these. Okay, maybe you got to make a change. Maybe there's but we can't not make a change. Okay, the standard is cutting out eyeballs. Okay, so something close to that. All right, don't cut anything off. Okay, but maybe we need to delete some apps. Maybe we need to get an accountability thing, and you can lock down even on your own personal phone where you can't download stuff yourself. You can get your spouse or a friend to help you. I personally started using just about a week ago one of these. It's a scanner. They make boxes and things that do them too. And when I scan the back of my phone, it locks down like you pick what apps, but I've picked all the time wasters of mine, because everybody has different ones, my time wasters. And then this stays in my car, and in order to unlock it, I have to go back out to my car and tap it to that thing. And so what this has done is I recognize, okay, it's just like a habit. I don't even know why I'm on it. Like I just sat down, and next thing you know, I'm wasting, and I don't. And so for me, this is a step I took, okay? I can't believe I'm paying money to not use my phone. All right, it's so dumb. But so yesterday, we went to bed. I opened my phone, and I was like, hey, I used my phone for less than an hour today. And 13 minutes was on my calculator. That's weird. But and I was like, but that's a huge change, okay? Because here's what I'm doing. I'm just saying, you know what? It's gotten to a place where it's not right. Is it a sin? I don't know, but it's not right. And I'm not going to let the enemy steal my family time, steal my thoughts. Most of what's on here is junk. Nobody is going to get to the end of their life and go, boy, I wish I had more time on Reels. Man, I didn't get enough into that YouTuber. Nobody. But man, are we going to miss out if we just let the enemy use this stuff against us. So, is there anything that needs to be cut out of your life? Some stuff, some junk, some time? We need to make that change. We read that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. That's what he does. The second half of that is what Jesus does. Jesus is talking and he says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. And here's the thing. I hope you don't hear, oh, here's all this stuff I can't do again. I got all this work. I got to get, because here's the deal. This can be a good thing in your life, and you can have real life if you don't let the thief steal life. Jesus wants you to have life and have it to the full, and you can have a full life, and this is not found by spending 4 hours a day and 8 hours a day right here. It is found in other things, and we can have that life, but we have to decide he's not stealing it anymore. I'm going to commit my life to Christ. I'm going to let him bring the change, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there. And so as we end today, we're going to sing a worship song together for just a moment. And I just want to ask everyone in the room, if you will, while we're singing, just to yourself, ask the Lord, say, Holy Spirit, is there something I need to change? Some of you already know. He already spoke to you during the sermon. But during this time, Holy Spirit, is there something I need to change? If he's already spoken to you and you feel like, I know this is going to be hard, I'm going to encourage you. There's going to be people here that will pray with you about it. Just come and say, hey, I need prayer for this. But also, I know that for many, this already done harm. And you're already struggling with anxiety and stress and depression. Guess what? God heals. And come and get prayer for that. Maybe you need to come pray with your spouse because you know that division has been happening and it may have been partially due to this. And come with your spouse and pray together that y'all are going to find healing together and God can restore and bring your relationship back. If you're struggling with reoccurring sin, pray about it. Let somebody pray with you. And so we're going to take just a moment to worship and seek the Lord, and let's let him tell each of us what maybe we need to do different. I'm going to pray. Father.